everyone? Welcome back to the ARTCAST. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham. This is the 7th episode of a 12-week limited podcast covering some of the landmark games from Dr. Bartner's 5 decades as the director of the Trojan Marching Band. Plus, we discuss a lot of the Trojan Marching Band's traditions. You can check out the videos, these podcast videos. We're going to have some B-roll and some photos and things from the past on the Trojan Marching Band's YouTube page or Facebook page. And if you want to hear the audio version of the podcast, anywhere you get podcasts, you can look for the ARTCAST and it will be there. And we have joining us Dr. Bartner. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good today. I look forward to this every week, and I think we're developing an extremely popular following, especially from the band alumni who are reliving these 50 years with me.
Yeah, the glory days of the band and all the way up to today. It's great. We hear from people, former band members, but just general USC football fans up on USCfootball.com, and they love it. So I'm glad we're doing these, Dr. Bartner. These are fun trips down memory lane.
Yes, a lot of great memories, and I'm looking forward to this one because it's the return of one of my favorite guys, Coach John Robinson.
Yeah, J-Rob 2. So the second installment of John Robinson at USC. Couple big bowl wins. Big star, Keyshawn Johnson. We talked about Rodney Peete last week. He was kind of the feature. Keyshawn Johnson featured this week. So we got some videos of him. And then on the tradition side, the second part of the podcast, we're going to talk about the Olympic tradition, which I know is something that's dear to your heart.
Yes. I mean, every 4 years, I look forward to honoring our Olympians, and of course, playing the role in the 1984 Olympics is really one of the highlights of my career. So Olympics are near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. And before we get to that, though, we got to talk a little football because that's what we do to start the show. So the second stint for John Robinson, if you remember, he did go to the LA Rams after he left USC from 83 to 91 and came back to USC in 1993. And 2 pretty glorious years with Keyshawn Johnson there. Cotton Bowl win one year and a Rose Bowl win the next year. And we're going to talk about all that. There was a Sports Illustrated, cover issue about Keyshawn in there. But there's a special bond between you and Keyshawn because I got to put this picture up, Dr. Bartner. You guys were both inducted into the same USC Hall of Fame class in 2012.
Yes, this is, just to be included with these marvelous athletes, what a great honor. And, Quincy Watts, who won a gold medal in the Olympics, Randy Johnson, the great picture, Barbara Hedges, who was instrumental in building women's athletics at USC, Tina Thompson, the great basketball player, and on and on and on. So for a band director to be included with this esteemed athletic talent is just unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty special group. And Tony Buselli, I'll put the picture up again. There's Tony Buselli, the former offensive lineman. Way far left of the picture, a fellow journalist, Steve Bischoff. So he's been covering USC forever. You've probably got interviewed by him. And next to Randy Johnson, who's obviously the tallest guy there, Brian Ivey was like the star of the volleyball team when I was a freshman at USC, and they won the national championship that year. So I just remember him hammering balls out of the back row. So he was really good.
Yes. Yeah. The band played for all those volleyball games. Kind of a rat pack in the end zone there, and boy, they seldom lost the game that season. And the band had every time they spiked the ball, it was like whoosh, made some kind of verbal noise. It was a good time. Good time was had by everybody.
Yeah, I think the band would start off. They would call like USC, like when they would do like it'd be a pass, like US, and then the hit would be see ya. So yeah.
Yes. Very, very clever students.
Yeah. You do have some clever students there. Well, let's talk about the first big bowl game for J-Rod was so January 2nd, 1995. playing against Texas Tech, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. So USC came in at 7-3-1. Lose to Penn State, lose to Oregon, lost to UCLA. That was those dark days with the UCLA streak, and end up tying against Notre Dame. And then I'll put the picture up here for you. But it was a pretty big party down there in Dallas for the Cotton Bowl.
Yes, and it was interesting because we have a great mascot in Traveler, and they had the Red Raider. They came out with a black horse, and it was kind of the battle of the two mascots, and it made it extremely exciting. And they also have a kind of a strange tradition of throwing tortillas on the field after they score a touchdown. And I'm going like, gee, how can they get away with that, trashing the field and during a football game? It was a pretty wild time, but the good news, we didn't get to see that too often because we trounced them.
Yeah, I was there. I went to that bowl game with my mother, and we went. We traveled down to Dallas together. But I remember seeing those tortillas flying in the air. But like you said, only 2 touchdowns for Texas Tech. It was 55-14, 578 yards of offense. Keyshawn Johnson had 222 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had a pretty big day. Let me play this highlight for you from Keyshawn.
Third down 10. Johnson down the middle to Keyshawn, and Keyshawn's got a touchdown. What an effort.
For us to come casual, we came California casual. They was in suits. It was like, oh, okay, I see how y'all gonna do us. So that was fun. And then just the game itself. Might have been my first touchdown of the game.
First touchdown?
Yeah,
okay.
It was the first one in the corner. I caught a little out in the corner on Texas Tech sideline. My family being here, really, to be honest with you. My mom sitting in the stands, me giving her football when I scored. That was a big moment.
And the Trojans, and Otten is going to get a touchdown pass to Keyshawn Johnson. And this will be, if there are no flags, and there aren't, an 86-yard TD pass from Otten to Johnson. Keyshawn's going to break some receiving yardage records today.
Yeah, I don't know how you leave Keyshawn Johnson that wide open. That's there's no way you can do that. You have to have somebody on him.
Okay. They had a pretty good quarterback that year in Rob Johnson.
Yeah.
And he was amazing. And I'm pretty sure Tony Buselli was the left tackle protecting Rob. And, they had a bunch of All-Americans. So it was really a pretty good team.
Yeah, that was definitely a good team, and he was fun to watch. You like seeing those when he goes back to the Cotton Bowl, and whenever you have a huge bowl game like that, the bowl games always want to welcome you back, put you in their Hall of Fame and stuff. So, Keyshawn had a pretty big one there, and that sort of set up the expectations for the next year, Dr. Bartner. Keyshawn Johnson was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. It said Keyshawn Johnson will lead storied Southern Cal back to number 1. Unfortunately, USC ended up losing to both UCLA and Notre Dame that year, ended up tying Washington. But they got the tiebreaker and end up making the Rose Bowl against Northwestern.
Yes, I remember that very well because, first of all, even though we didn't have this great team, we still got the break with Washington and got into the Rose Bowl. And it was the only Rose Bowl during, all the 90s, like a 10-year period. So this, for my student musicians, this was really a highlight to get most of them to a Rose Bowl during their time at USC.
Yeah, it's there was some lean years there, but it was a good Rose Bowl team. Northwestern, they had been there for 47 years. They're number 3 team in the country. They're 10-1 and undefeated in the Big Ten. USC ended up taking a lead 24-10 in the first half. They were up 31-19, and that was set up by, and I'll show you the video of Brad Otten, took over the quarterback that next year, to Keyshawn Johnson. This is from the third quarter. I'll play it for you.
That's Johnson in motion. He's got it. He's gone. 5. Touchdown, Trojans.
Now he's a man among boys. There goes Ismaili, number 3, is on him. Nice move. Taillights in the mirror. Is that what you said? I like that. There's no question that this man is the best player on this field today, and he is like a man among boys.
If you remember that, now Pat Fitzgerald, the current head coach of Northwestern, was the All-American linebacker on that team too, if I'm not mistaken.
I remember that play because it was like, Keyshawn just like right up the middle of the field, and nobody touched him. I mean, it was like how did he get so wide open? And I keep thinking it was like, God, there's a man amongst boys. I mean, he was so far superior to that secondary of Northwestern. They had no answer for him. So it was a great day to be a Trojan.
Yeah, and if you remember, Northwestern came back. They took the lead for a minute there. It's 32-31. And then USC scores the next 10 points. Keyshawn Johnson over 200 yards again, 2 touchdowns. He's the game MVP. And your guy, John Robinson, was very fired up afterwards. And former USC athletic director Lynn Swan was doing the interview with him. And all J-Rob wanted to do was go to you and go see the band. But I'll play, it's kind of a little bit of awkward interview, but I'll play it for you, Dr. Bartner, and get your thoughts.
On behalf of our players, all our players and our fans, all Trojans, this is a great day, and we thank you very much. It was a great football game, and our guys deserved it.
That's right. Super. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go to the band.
Coach,
go to the band.
Coach, hold on a second. We've got to ask you a few more things here. A lot of people came into this ball game looking at the Trojans, and as you said, coming into this ball game, just throwing the Trojans into the mix as father for the Northwestern team. This had to be the greatest game your team played for you this afternoon.
We knew all those things. We were definitely the straight men, but we're not now. This senior class has gone out champions, and that's a great deal for us. Let's go.
John, you come into a game, you're known as a running coach. You put the ball in the air. You said you wanted to be aggressive. You stayed with it through the entire afternoon.
Yeah, we wanted to come out and take the initiative, maybe tire them out a little bit. They did a great job of coming back. This was a great football game, and we're proud of our people.
Coach, thank you.
He really did not want to be there talking to Swan. He wanted to talk to you.
It's, again, I think it's one of the great things about USC. It's all about the Trojan family and that connection. And it's not only the band, it's the fans. All the fans are sitting behind us. And John, I met John way back in 1972. And, Marv Goo was on the same staff. And, so John understood the tradition, and he loved these kids, not only the football players, but the band and the fans. And, and the last thing he wanted to do was an interview on television. He wanted to go over to the band and celebrate and, listen to Conquest and get the victory sign up in the air. And it was a great moment on national television.
Yeah. Let's go to the band. So that's pretty funny. All right. So cool memories from the second tenure from John Robinson. Going to switch over to the traditional side and talk about USC in the Olympics. So, go ahead.
A second.
You do whatever you want.
But there was a couple of great players, during the 90s that I would just like to mention. One was Chris Claiborne. He was like an all-world linebacker, and he won the Bupkis Award. And the other one is Willie McGinnis. I think he was either a linebacker or a defensive lineman. And they both went on to have just fabulous NFL careers. careers, and they were just marvelous players during the 90s. So I'd just like to mention those two.
And you've seen him around recently. Chris Claiborne, one of the support people, the support staff. So he's actually on the Trojan coaching staff now. And Willie McGinnis, one of the hype videos that the USC, they hired those guys from LSU, like Jacob Brown and Will Stout. So they're doing these videos, and he was narrating one of them. So both those guys you mentioned have been around lately.
Right. Yes, I've talked to Willie McGinnis several times. He was on a plane with us one time, and then he was out in front of the locker. And I have to tell you, he looks like he could suit up today. I mean, he could go out and start and be an All-American. I mean, that's what kind of shape he's still in.
Yeah, he does look good. We've seen him on TV as an analyst and stuff too. And Chris Claiborne was coaching locally, high school stuff, and now he's on staff at USC. All right. Well, yeah, a couple great names from the 90s. And we'll move on to the traditions for the band. And the USC and Olympic tradition's gone on forever. So 472 total USC Olympians, 711 places on, they've won 711 places on Olympic teams, 305 Olympic medals, 142 gold, and at least one gold in every summer Olympics from 1912, 91 silver, 72 bronze. That's more than any other university. 13 among, if USC was a country, it'd be 13th in the world with medals, tied for 11th with gold medals. 65 different countries were represented by USC Olympians, and 30 different sports. So quite the heritage of USC, and I'll put a picture up there of USC Olympians. What were your thoughts for as far as the tradition goes with USC and the Olympics, Dr. Bartner?
Yes, this is without a question one of the highlights in my career. I look forward to every 4 years of bringing back our Olympians and honoring them, and at halftime and playing some great John Williams music. I love Trojan football, but now this is really a world moment. You get to represent your country to the world. So I consider this one of the highlights of my career.
Yeah, I know you mentioned before in one of the previous episodes how you enjoy every 4 years having that Olympic halftime show for one of the games. We have a clip from 2016 where they kind of go through part of the halftime show honoring some of the USC Olympians. So I'll play that for you now.
Victoria tomorrow. From men's volleyball, Ruby Troy. From swimming, Haley Anderson. Tim Winter. Dylan Carter. From track and field, Aaron Brown. Taya Gager. Emily Newell. Leah Murray.
So you can see the different athletes representing different countries there for USC. That was the 2016 Arizona State game with the band playing in the background.
Yes, I'm always impressed that it's just not, citizens from the United States. This team is, they represent countries from all over the world, and it's just a great moment to share with our fans. And I think it's part of the USC tradition, and I think our fan base is very proud of these marvelous athletes.
Yeah, and so those every 4 years you guys do a halftime tribute for the Olympics. That's, like we said, something you to look forward to. But there's been a couple Olympics in Los Angeles, and obviously there's going to be another one coming up. Way back in 1932, so Harold Roberts was the director of music and organizer of the Parade of Nations, and he had the 10th Olympic band. He handled all the music for the opening ceremony and the medal ceremonies around Southern California, and he was the band director back then, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. No, that's correct, and we continued that in 1984, and we did a major showpiece called Music of America. Each host country can make a presentation of about 25 to 30 minutes in the middle of the ceremonies. And the band played a very big role. And the thing I loved about this band was that we had all 50 states represented and 130 Trojans. There's a very important committee of people who planned this opening ceremonies. On my left is John Williams, who wrote the theme, and then next to him is David Walper, the producer. Next to him is John Peters. I'm not sure what his role was. Jack Elliott was the orchestrator. He was the music director. Tommy Walker, by the way, David Walper, a graduate of USC. Tommy Walker was also a graduate and a drum major and kicked the point after touchdown. Behind him is Charles Hurt, a choral man. I'm not sure who the next man is. And then Robert Lynn, who is on our composing staff. So this is a very heavy USC group that did all the planning for the opening and closing ceremony.
Yeah, it's weird, and how involved USC was, because you had Bob Janney, who worked for Walt Disney. He developed the concept for the ceremonies, and then he assigned you to bring the All-American Marching Band, and that was first developed to entertain parks, the Disney parks to the Coliseum. But then, for some reason, I don't know why, but less than a year before the opening ceremonies, the Los Angeles Olympic Organizing Committee replaced Disney with David Waltner. So he's a veteran Hollywood producer, but he's also a USC alum. And then he brought in Tommy Walker, like you said. So someone we talked about, he was the drum major who would wear pads under his uniform and then be the place kicker. It was just kind of crazy. So, but they did, even though when they switched companies, they did keep the All-American Marching Band segment of the show. So you didn't lose your gig there, even though when they switched it up.
Right. Yes. I was very close with Bob Yanni, and, I had worked for, many summers at the parks with the All-American College Band. And what Bob did, he took the concept and just expanded it to include, all the major colleges in the country and represent every state. And the second semester, starting in January, I really worked full time on the Olympics and rounding up these kids. And then we moved into Pepperdine, of all places, because USC was used for the athletes. So we housed the band. There's Pepperdine, and there's the practice field. And so we housed everybody at Pepperdine and rehearsed for almost, I think it was 17 days. And we really got this, we really got this show down extremely well. And I remember there's no lines, there's no football field. So the lines all went away. But to rehearse, we put down little white discs 4 steps apart. And that's how we practiced this band. And then we got into the Coliseum, the disc went away. But these great student musicians knew the show so well, they could do it in their sleep. And it came off just absolutely wonderfully.
So it was an 826 person band, and you had 130 members of the Trojan marching band in there. Was it sort of like they were spread out to sort of like kind of help everyone and be sort of leaders throughout this All-American band?
I don't remember the leaders part, but I do remember pulling these SC guys together in the middle of the night and saying, you know what? This is not your band. This is the country's band. You're just part of this band. As much as I love the Trojan marching band, you've got to think bigger, and you've got to fit in and ingratiate yourself to all these other great college musicians. And after I made that speech, it just went very smoothly.
Yeah. So the band ended up opening with Fanfare for the Common Man by Aaron Copland, and then played American Sweet and the Battle Hymn of the Republic, Your Grand Old Flag, and Washington Post. And we have a video of the opening ceremony that you talked about. So this is pretty cool. You can kind of see what's going on. This is from the '84 Olympics.
Yankee Doodle Dandy.
This land is your land. Woody Guthrie, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right.
Goes back to the 30s. Harder times when the Olympics were last here.
This is my country, land of my birth. This is my country, grandest on earth.
Now, the outline of the map of the United States of America.
This is a spectacular looking thing.
Here it is. Throats responding. Burt Lancaster, star in his cap. Who said that? That's Kirk Douglas.
Right generation anyway, Jim.
Yes.
Man, that full Coliseum was quite a sight, Dr. Bartner, with your band down there.
You know, it's interesting that this show, you know, is very important at this time, you know, in the history of this country, because you can feel the love of the country, you know, and everybody, you know, had an American flag, and we formed the outline of the United States, played America the Beautiful, and it was waving their flags, and it was like you get to feel like, well, this is, you know, we're one country, we're one people, it's the best country in the world, and it wasn't a dry-eyed in the house, and it's one of those moments, you know, to be part of, you know, and every time it comes back, and you talk about it, you get goosebumps.
Yeah, it had to be very special for you. But then, so after the opening ceremonies, you had the band split up and you had to do all different events around the city?
Yes, I kept all the out-of-state students. You know, I forget the number now, and I kept that, and we kind of toured. We kind of made it fun for them. We went to Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, Universal Studios down to San Diego, and then the local kids, we set up venue bands. We had a band at the farm. We had a band at the swim stadium on campus. We had a band over at UCLA. So So we kept the band together. We just split them up.
Yeah. And so that band, the Olympic All-American Marching Band, was widely considered one of the greatest marching bands ever to take the field, and certainly was the most visible. So that's a pretty special accomplishment for you.
Well, thank you. And it was interesting because, today, you hardly get to see a band on a field, and they mic them poorly, and they're like a throwaway. Where this show was filmed as a television show. So you had the directors and network people come down and actually cover the most important element. Plus the miking was absolutely magnificent. So we got a lot of tender, loving care from the network, and that made all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And then you guys have kept the Trojan Marching Band kept that Olympic connection going ever since. So you performed in 96 and the 2002 torch runs. And, you did pre-Olympic tours in Australia in 2000, London in 2012. And then you're supposed to go to Tokyo in 2020 earlier this year, but that was postponed. Are you going to do next year, 2021? Is that still part of the plan?
Well, I'll be retired.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I asked the new band director if he would like to keep this tradition going. But it's been wonderful to go to Australia. I remember very well, and we went to London before their Olympics, and it's kind of like, we're not included in their ceremony, but still we have this visibility that we've kept going through the years, and it's kind of neat, and the students look forward to it. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's a great trip. Well, good stuff on John Robinson II and the Olympic traditions for USC Trojan Marching Band. Any final thoughts before we let you go, Dr. Bartner?
Well, the only thought, I'm a very fortunate young man to have these great experiences, and it's really happened because of the Trojan network, the Trojan family, the John Robinsons, Barbara Hedges. Pat Hayden was the athletic director during that time. And then you've got David Wolper, Bob Yanni, Tommy Walker. You got all these SC guys that made this Olympics happen for USC. So I'm very blessed.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Dr. Bartner. Great stuff. Just to let everyone know, Election Day is coming up. The students of the Trojan Marching Band, they started a TMVote Initiative. Every band member is pledged to register, and they have challenged other Pac-12 bands to do the same. So they're going to challenge you. Go to uscband.com/vote for information on how to register. Make sure you mail in your ballot or vote in person by November 3rd. So make sure you check that out. You got everyone registered, Dr. Bartner.
Well, yes, this is, in fact, on November 3rd, we're going to give the band the day off to make sure that they go out and vote.
Nice.
I think it's very important.
Very important for all of us to do that. All right. Well, Dr. Bartner, great stuff. It's another fun trip down memory lane, and looking forward to whatever you got in store, whatever stories you got for me next week. So thanks again.
Well, thank you, Riot, and thank you, everybody, for joining us. And fight on.
All right. Fight on, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.